Okay, so I'm going to be installing a ceiling fan right up there. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have a mini split and it does really well in this room, but it's not doing a good job with pushing the air into the back rooms. And so I thought if I just install one here in the middle of the living room, it should be able to improve the airflow. So I'm just going to show you the installation. Here's everything unboxed. What's cool about this is that it has reversible blades. So if you like the darker look facing downwards, you can, or the lighter look. And then you've got all the rest of the stuff here. One reason I went with this style of fan is I kind of liked the look of the recessed light, which technically it's not really recessed. It just looks similar to that style. All right, first thing we gotta do is first turn off the power, which would be this one here. Hopefully that's accurate, because we do not want to electrocute ourselves. So a couple things to mention. You'll notice that we have the remote here, and then I believe this is the receiver that goes up in the mount for the light fixture, just to make the light switch work, or the fan work. Now, I noticed some reviews online that there was some confusion around the receiver and how to properly get that to sit inside the fixture, so we'll be playing around with that in a minute. All right, so it's mentioning to remove the mounting bracket screws from the canopy. So I'm going to remove this one and this one. Okay, next, basically, you'll notice that it has these little grooves here to allow you to move the screw back and forth on both ends. Now, you want to make sure that it's in the position to actually remove, and then you pull it out. And then you're going to take this piece and install it up in the, I guess you call it like the ceiling outlet box. And you use the screws that they have available in the bags. And I believe you use these openings here. So one thing I forgot to mention is you also want to remove this from your previous light fixture. I forgot to do that because the holes you're going to use, see where these are right here? You need to reuse those same ones. So remove this bracket here and then install this piece in its place. So I'll show that in a minute. All right, so that's what it should look like. You'll notice I put a screw there and one right there. I know this is kind of a rough cut, but once I have the light fixture up in place, you won't even notice it. And also another thing is make sure the wires are coming right down the middle. But yeah. Okay, now we're just gonna remove the pin here for the rod. Pull that out. Remove it. And you'll notice the motor here. We have to remove, or not remove, I'm sorry, loosen the screws here at the top. So we're gonna do that real quick. We're gonna take the yoke, which is, sorry, the yoke cover, and we're gonna feed the wires from the motor inside of this. And then we take the canopy, and then we feed the wires through the canopy. And then we have the down rod, and we feed the wires through that as well. I'm gonna twist the wires up so it's a little easier to pass through. Okay, so this is gonna be hard to show me installing this part, so I'm going to explain. Here, you're gonna have to raise this slightly. Okay, so here you'll notice that the down rod, this whole assembly that we did here, we would take the pin that we removed earlier and push it through here to where it aligns with the lower piece. And then we tighten the 2 screws that we loosened earlier just so it's properly fastened to the motor. So yeah, I'll get a distant shot so you see what I'm doing. Okay, for this next part, we're dealing with the receiver, which is this right here. And what we're gonna wanna do is recognize the wiring diagram, because if we get this wrong, this is going to fail miserably. So, over here, you'll notice that you have the wiring diagram. Just study that and make sure you fully understand it, because you've got the receiver here, which I already explained is this, and you got the fan here, and the outlet sealing box. Now, I'm sure I've got the name wrong for that, but you understand what I mean. Also, one other thing I wanted to mention that I read in the manual is you're gonna have a lot of excess wire right here. Once you have enough wire pulled through the rod, it says in the manual to just cut off about 8 inches. So I would say right around this point, just so you have enough to where it's not going to bunch up in the fixture and you're not going to be able to install it. Trust me, it gets difficult when you're dealing with a lot of wire like that, and it can be hard to get everything to fit. Okay, after about 20 to 30 minutes on this part, I finally made some progress. Okay, so when you're installing this, and I didn't get any recording of putting it up previously because from a distance when I'm trying to put it up and you need close-up shots, and because of the angle, it wouldn't have been helpful. Basically, you just need to make sure that when you're lifting up the light fixture, you put it in the bracket that was already up there. So make sure it's synced up and sitting up there before you start wiring. And then you want to make sure that the wiring is kind of pushed up over the bracket that was already there. And then you put that receiver in place. It's gonna feel like the receiver doesn't fit. It will fit. You just have to play with it for like 20 to 30 minutes. But hopefully me showing you this speeds that time up a bit. But yeah, just make sure the wires are tucked out of the way when you're putting it up there. And eventually you'll get the receiver to fit in with it as well. All right, so I finished wiring it. I'll have to clean up my ceiling, mudded and painted and whatnot. But I finished wiring it. I tucked the wires down into this cup here, the canopy, and then I slid this onto the screws, the mounting screws, and then added these additional screws on both sides so that it properly holds to the ceiling. So we'll move on to the next step. Next, we're gonna take these washers and screws and install the blades. Okay, now we're going to take these wires and connect it to these two right here. Okay, so you'll notice I already connected this here, and it's going to say to take some screws and connect it to this. The screws are already in here, but it's going to be tightly up against this. So just loosen them up so that there's some space on all 3 spots, and then it allows you to lock it in place. Okay, it's done. Now here's for the real test. I have to go turn it on the breaker. So I'm honestly gonna have a drink after this. If this works, I'm gonna celebrate because this took way too long to install. All right, here we go. Fingers crossed. Okay, pop in the batteries. I believe that's the right direction. All right, let's see if it works. There we go. Let me check the light. Perfect. So I gotta say, I like it. Overall, the design is my favorite part. Also the size. And I got it on sale for like 90 bucks. Really wasn't bad. My only complaint was the install was a bit tricky. I felt like the instructions could have been a little bit better. The receiver that you put in the inside of it was very tricky to get it to fit with all the wires and everything, so you had to play with it for a while. I feel like that install should have only taken 20 to 30 minutes. It turned into like a 1 or 2 hour project. Overall, very happy with the fan. It was just little complaints here and there, or more like improvements that are needed. But yeah, hopefully this was helpful for you all, and let me know if you have any questions.